Are we ready? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the September 22nd, 2020 Vista Consolidated Meeting. The meeting is now called back to order. The meeting is being conducted utilizing teleconferencing and electronic means consistent with the State of California Executive Order N-29-20. In the event a quorum of the City Council loses electrical power or suffers an internet connection outage that is not corrected within 10 minutes, the meeting will automatically be adjourned. Any items noticed as public hearings would be continued to the next regularly scheduled evening meeting of the City Council. Any other items on the agenda that the City Council has not taken action on will be placed on a future agenda. So with that, we'll do a roll call with our City Clerk, Kathy Valdez. Please conduct our roll call.
Thank you. Please state you're here when I call your name. Mayor Ritter.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Rigby.
Present.
Councilmember Franklin.
Here.
Councilmember Green.
Here.
Councilmember Contreras.
Present.
All members are present. Also joining us are City Attorney Daryl Piper and City Manager Patrick Johnson.
Okay, in accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. For members of the public that are participating through Zoom, you may raise your hand to indicate you'd like to speak by clicking the raise hand feature on your screen or by pressing *9 on your phone. Instructions on how to join the meeting through Zoom are provided on the agenda cover sheet. Staff will be lowering everyone's hand now to start the meeting, and we will announce when to raise your hand to indicate you'd like to make a comment on the specific item being discussed. You may only speak on an item once, and public comment is limited to 3 minutes. So with that, we'll get the approval of our agenda with our City Manager, Patrick Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. There is only one change to the agenda this evening. That would be for item C5, which is entitled Fuel Purchase Agreement. This item will be removed from the agenda and brought back at a later time.
Okay, with that, we'll have our City Attorney, Daryl Piper, bring us out of our closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council did meet this evening in closed session to discuss the various cases that are listed on item CS1 on the closed session agenda. No action was taken. Nothing is required to be reported. Thank you.
Okay, we have one presentation this evening. Our branch manager, Orquídea Contreras, will provide a presentation on library services at the Vista branch of the San Diego County Library. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Contreras.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, City Manager Johnson, and City staff. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Orquídea Contreras. I am the branch manager of the Vista Library. I'm here to share some of the county library's initiatives and accomplishments and give a snapshot of how the Vista Library is doing. Should I continue?
Yes, please continue.
I'm sorry, there's just no feedback on the monitor for me. Thank you. First, I want to share what being part of the county library system means to Vista residents. Vista Library is one of 33 branches in the county system, which also includes 2 bookmobiles and 4 self-checkout kiosks. The map on the screen shows our locations, and I hope you have that slide. This means each library has stable funding. The county library is funded by a dedicated portion of the property taxes in the cities and communities we serve. Each community enjoys the expertise of over 300 library professionals, including myself. We have greater opportunities for partnerships and grants by organizations that are attracted to the scale and impact of a large library system. For example, San Diego County Library is a member of Circuit and Link, which are 2 lending cooperatives that give our customers access to over 40 million titles, in addition to our own collection of 1.4 million items. The county library will be launching a new strategic plan. Our mission statement is, we celebrate our communities and dedicate our passion and expertise to help you create your own story. We have 4 guiding principles as part of our new strategic plan. They are learn, energize, read, and create. Everything we do fits into one of these 4 principles. Our first guiding principle is learn. We promote learning, exploration, and discovery for fulfillment and personal growth. One example of our commitment to our Learn guiding principle is Library High School. Library High School is an online, free, accredited high school diploma conferring program open to adults whose education has been interrupted. So far, 2 Vista residents have graduated from this program. There are 7 Vista residents currently active in the program. We expect 1 more resident to graduate, having already completed 90% of their coursework. This program has been offered without interruption during the pandemic. Our next guiding principle is energize. We champion civic engagement and support individuals in shaping the future of their communities. An example of an energized guiding principle is our partnership with the Registrar of Voters. The Vista Library has served as a designated polling place and mail-in ballot drop-off for many elections. We look forward to serving in the same capacity in the coming months for the presidential election in November. Volunteers of the Vista, Friends of the Vista Library provide advocacy and fundraising by selling used books that directly benefit the Vista Library and community. Last year, the Friends provided over $48,000 in support for programs and collection development. Our third guiding principle, and the one most people think of when they consider the library, is read. We encourage reading in every way to develop skills, nurture hope, and motivate a love of reading. The San Diego County Library provides access to 133,000 downloadable books. You can download these books to your smartphone, your tablet, or your computer, whenever and wherever you are. If you don't have a library card, you can sign up for one instantly and access this collection by visiting our webpage. Although we are not currently open for story time and reading activities, you can still enjoy book reading online through our San Diego County Library Storytime Shorts, featuring some of our most talented library staff reading picture book favorites. These short videos feature favorites like Brown Bear, Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, and Buenas Noches, Luna. Our fourth guiding principle is create. We design opportunities to experience and enjoy culture and the arts as a creator and participant. The Vista Library provides opportunities for all ages to be creative. Regularly, our programming includes crafting, arts, and hands-on classes. We also believe in showcasing local creative talent through our rotating art displays in our community room and throughout the building itself. Thank you for allowing me to share our 4 guiding principles. Now, looking ahead. We do not currently know when we will resume library programs like the very popular and my favorite prom dress drive-in giveaway, story times, or book clubs. However, we do continue to make strides in reopening. I am happy to share the Vista Library has begun to offer expanded library services. We are now open for in-person services, opening our doors to the public on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We close for an hour at midday to fully sanitize the facility. During these 3 days, customers are welcome inside the branch to browse the collection, access a computer, to print or make copies at no cost. We remain open on Mondays and Fridays for doorside pickup. This gives customers the opportunity to pick up items safely and quickly by meeting us at doorside. Now, here are some numbers. For the fiscal year, these approximate statistics. The residents of Vista are avid library consumers. Year after year, they check out 1 million items, books, movies, and CDs. This number also includes ebooks and digital downloads. That makes us the busiest of all 33 branches within the county library for checkouts. With the branch closure, I am proud to say that Vista Library circulated over 709 items with limited library service this past fiscal year. Approximately 176,605 of those checkouts were downloadable ebooks and audiobooks. We hosted over 1,100 programs for children, teens, and adults that were attended by over 23,000 members of our own community. The majority of these programs were sponsored by the Friends of the Vista Library, thanks to donations and bookstore purchases by Vista residents. We look forward to resuming these programs in the near future. One of our current projects is the Census 2020 campaign, which is underway. The city of Vista has been identified as a hard-to-count area, it being an area that correlates with a high non-response rate. In order to promote accurate enumeration, which will impact funding and representation, the Vista Library has a census-taking kiosk that is open to the public during our in-person hours on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. This dedicated kiosk is self-serve, regularly sanitized, and user-friendly. Over the past 10 years, I've had the distinct honor of working with and for the residents of Vista. I am a resident myself, first as a children's librarian, and now as the branch manager. I serve all members of our community. I serve you, members of the City Council, Honorable Mayor Ritter, City Manager Patrick Johnson, as your city librarian. I'd like to thank the City of Vista for partnering with us and giving us the support we need to bring the best possible library services to every local resident. Thank you all for your time this evening, and also special help from Kathy Valdez for helping me submit my presentation tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about the Vista Library.
Thank you for your presentation. We appreciate it. We're going to move on to our consent calendar. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public may remove an item by using the raise hand feature or pressing *9 now. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following adoption of the calendar. We have 8 consent items this evening. Would any of our city council members like to remove an item? Seeing heads shaking. So with that, I would, I'll ask, do we have any requests from the public?
I do not see any. So we'll go ahead and close the opportunity to pull an item by the public.
Okay, so seeing no requests, we're closing the public portion of the.
Mayor,
yes?
I think
yes?
Councilman Green has something.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you waving at me.
Oh, nothing at all, Madam Mayor. I was just going to offer a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I would second that motion.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. City Clerk Valdez, please conduct the roll call vote.
Thank you. Please state your vote when I call your name. Mayor Ritter?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rigby?
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Contreras?
Aye.
The consent calendar passes unanimously, again with C5 having been pulled from the agenda.
Okay. So the next thing on our agenda are our discussion items. We have 3 discussion items this evening. Our first item is a proclamation to declare September 23rd, 2020 as Kenneth Alfred Day in the city of Vista. So Kenny is joining us now, and I'm going to read the proposed proclamation and then open it up for comments. So if any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise the hand feature or by pressing *9 now. And so I will read the proclamation here. So this is pretty amazing, actually. Whereas on March 17th, 2020, the Carnegie Fund Commission awarded Kenneth Alfred the Medal and a financial grant for his bravery when rescuing his neighbors from danger. The Carnegie Medals have been awarded since the fund's inception in 1904. Throughout the 116 years since the fund was established by industrialist philanthropist Andrew Carnegie, $41.7 million has been given in one-time grants, scholarship aid, death benefits, and continuing assistance. On September 22nd, 2019, Kenneth Alfred witnessed two men assaulting his neighbors. Roxana Baldovinos and her wife were sitting in their vehicle when the two men pointed a knife at Roxana and demanded she exit the car. Her wife screamed for help and Kenneth responded. Kenneth grasped the assailant's neck and shoved him to the ground. During the incident, one of the assailants stabbed Kenneth in the abdomen before fleeing the scene. Kenneth underwent surgery for his wound, was hospitalized for 2 days, and recovered a month later. Whereas the Carnegie Hero Fund Commission was created to recognize outstanding acts of selfless heroism performed in the United States and Canada, the Commission awards a Carnegie Medal to those individuals who risked their life to an extraordinary degree while saving or attempting to save the lives of others. Whereas the Vista City Council do hereby recognize Kenneth Alfred, who placed his life in danger by responding to his neighbor's call for help and has distinguished himself by conspicuous heroism under life-threatening circumstances. So now, therefore, the mayor and members of the Vista City Council present this proclamation to Kenneth Alfred for his selfless act of heroism and for putting his life in jeopardy to save the life of another, and hereby proclaim September 23rd, 2020 as Kenneth Alfred Day in the city of Vista. So congratulations to Kenneth, and Kenneth is here, yay. Congratulations, Kenneth. Would you like to say something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Thank you, Mayor, for that great announcement. I have the medal here. I would like to show, if I can. This is the, let's see if I can get it up here for you. The Carnegie Medal there, and it has an inscription on the back of the incident itself of what happened. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it has the inscription on the incident and what happened. And these are the young ladies here.
Yes.
That was saved on that night of, you know, we don't know what happened. I just reacted to, you know, what a man is supposed to do and help someone that I was out for help. And that's all it was, you know.
And I just want to say that in the scariest moment of my life, you heard our cries for help. And you came over immediately without hesitation.
Yes.
And I love you for that.
I love you too. I love you too.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you for that great 23rd is Kenneth Alfred Day, huh?
Yes,
What can I say? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, City of Vista. We appreciate
thank you,
it.
City of Vista. And, you know, we just try to keep our neighbors safe and do the right thing. You know, I'm just a normal guy, just happen to be there. And one of the greatest aspects of God's will for us is to help another. That's all it was, you know, just help another no matter what. You know, so.
Well, we're pretty proud of you. So thank you for doing that and saving their lives. That's amazing. It's an amazing thing you did. So you are a hero.
Thank you.
The hero.
Yes.
Anybody else want to say anything? Councilmember Green.
Yeah, I just want to commend you on your bravery, sir, and thank you so much for stepping up and saving those lovely women. Too many people look the other way and, you know, don't take, initiative to help, man, and you put yourself in danger, you know, one man to another. Thank you for just being there and protecting your community, sir. I can't tell you, you know, how proud I am as a Vistan. And tomorrow I'm going to celebrate on your day in my city, man, in our city. Thank you. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
I also just wanted to say congratulations on this, but moreover, thank you. Thank you for being a hero in our community. Thank you for stepping up when you heard cries for help. Not everybody would do that, and you did that without thought for your own safety. And I always say we are Vista, and you exemplify what it is to be Vista, to be one people of one community helping each other. And I just want to say thank you so much for what you did for the communities.
Thank you. Thank you. No problem. Thank you.
Congratulations on your day in Vista tomorrow.
Thank you, Mayor.
But you can't run any red lights or anything, you know.
Hey, okay, all right, everybody listening, I'm gonna keep it on. I got a ticket today.
Oh my God.
No.
I got a ticket at the speed trap on East Vista Way today. He said I was doing 40-35. I mean,
You should have waited until Kenny Day.
hey, it is what it is, life goes on. But yeah, I did. And I wanted to share that. I said, you know what? I wonder if it's cool to share it or not. But yeah, but I was getting those traffic tickets a lot, those lights. And I'm so glad you guys took those out.
So sorry.
You might want to keep that medal in the car. Mr. Alfred, I just wanted to say it's an honor for us to be able to honor and recognize you, and we're grateful for your kind and courageous heart. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
And Mr. Alfred, I just wanted to, jump on here and tell you as well, thank you so much for your actions. We never know what God's plan is for us. And sometimes we run into situations and we don't know that, we've been prepared for it. And so it's a beautiful thing. And the city of Vista appreciates what you've done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be celebrating tomorrow.
There, we actually need to do a formal vote on the proclamation.
Yes. I guess we have to do business.
Make a motion to accept the proclamation.
So I'll make the motion So we make a motion. I need a second.
I'll second it.
I'll third.
I'll second it right here.
Okay, so, please cast your votes.
All right, would you please state your vote when I call your name, Mayor Ritter?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rigby?
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Franklin?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
1000% aye.
Councilmember Contreras?
Aye.
Item passes unanimously. So we'll get that proclamation off to you, Kenny. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations, all of you.
Thank
With
you.
that, now we have to go do business.
All right.
Okay.
I guess.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank all of you guys. And, let's just keep a happy heart and take it a day at a time. Everyone stay healthy and stay safe out there with everything that's going on. And I bless and wish God bless all of you and your families. Everyone stay safe.
You too, Kenna. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on here. Let's see, to our next item, discussion number 2. It's CIP number 8296, Paula Vista Park final design. The assistant to the city manager, Amanda Lee, will be providing the staff report. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise hand feature or pressing *9 now. Speakers will be called upon after the staff presentation.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm excited to discuss and highlight some of the key components of the final design of the Paula Vista Park project. The City Council last reviewed the 60% project designs in June 2019. The project has taken a little longer than other projects due to funding limitations. In August 2019, the city applied for a competitive statewide park grant. In March 2020, the city received wonderful news that out of 478 applications, Paula Vista Park was selected as one of 62 applications to be awarded grant funds. With funding secured, staff proceeded to complete the design process. Next slide, please. Thank you, Kathy. The Paula Vista Park project site is located at 234 Paula Vista Drive at the intersection of Civic Center and is just under 1 acre. The city acquired the property in 2016 to provide additional recreation opportunities for Vista residents. Additionally, The park project is a gateway project as it will welcome residents and visitors as they enter the city from Civic Center Drive. Next slide, please. The Paula Vista Park project will be one of Vista's first urban parks. The surrounding neighborhoods are one of the city's most densely populated areas, with approximately 10,000 people living within 3/4 mile of the project site. In addition, the area has a high concentration of children and youth under the age of 18 and a large volume of apartment complexes with little to no open space for people to enjoy the outdoors. Furthermore, the project site is just 400 feet from a sprinter station. The development of a new park will directly address a critical need for more open space and alleviate traffic congestion with the widening of Civic Center Drive. Next slide, please. To ensure the park meets the needs of the community, staff, in collaboration with ASR, the project's landscape architect, conducted various workshops, hosted sidewalk meetings, which were conducted primarily in the neighborhood, solicited feedback on the city's website, and attended community events, all with the goal to provide an educational, interactive, and easy way for the community to provide input about the park's potential features, amenities, and character. A majority of the meetings also included Spanish translation services. Additionally, conceptual and 60% design plans were presented to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Last night, the final plans were presented to the Commission, and the commissioners unanimously expressed their support for the park project. Next slide, please. Community feedback was reviewed by staff and provided to the City Council. Many ideas from the community have been incorporated into the final design, including aspects of the overall park features. Specifically, the inclusion of 2 separate playgrounds for differing age groups, drought-tolerant landscaping, security lighting and fencing, preserving an existing oak tree, and providing a walking track around the perimeter of the park. Next slide, please. Now, based on community input and direction from the City Council, I'm excited to present an overview of the final project design plans. I know the diagram on the screen has a lot of information, so I would like to take a moment to point out some of the key features. First, if you would direct your attention to the middle of the screen where there is a shape that resembles a surfboard. The surfboard shape area is the open turf area where people can enjoy the grass area for picnics or recreation. Directly below the turf area, but staying in the middle of your screen, is where a Vista kite sculpture will be installed. To the bottom left of the Vista kite is the existing oak tree that we are working to preserve. This section of the park also includes seating areas with benches. Now moving to the left side of your screen, there's a large circular area. That section is designated as the playground area, and I will be providing a little bit more detail on the next screens. For now, please draw your attention to the far right of your screen where the park narrows. Just outside the park on Paula Vista Drive is a private driveway into an apartment complex. Due to the widening of Civic Center Drive, the driveway will need to be realigned. Staff has been in contact with the property owner, and the owner is agreeable to the necessary changes. In fact, the owner has stated that the project will benefit the tenants. Currently, tenants only have access to make a right turn on Civic Center Drive. However, the new driveway alignment will allow tenants to have an additional option to turn onto Paula Vista Drive and then catch the light to make a left-hand turn onto Civic Center Drive. Keeping your attention on the right side of the screen, above the new driveway is a stormwater detention basin that will serve not only the park, but also capture runoff from the widening on Civic Center Drive. The area will be decorated with stone and boulder art arrangement. Lastly, the park has a walking path around the perimeter with 3 pedestrian gate entrances. Next slide, please. The playground has many features that have been requested by the community. There are 2 playground areas that will have different structures for differing age groups, areas for people to sit, shade to keep the equipment and people comfortable, and a drinking fountain, bicycle racks, and more. Next slide, please. Now, this slide provides you a more detailed look at the playground area. The circle, in the circle, there are 5 separate sections going clockwise. The area at the 12 o'clock position is the 5 to 12-year-old play area with shade canopies. At the 3 o'clock position is the open turf area that was part of that surfboard. At the 5 o'clock position is the 2 to 5-year-old play area with shade canopies. The 8 o'clock position is a climbing tree structure. And the center of the circle area is a centralized plaza seating area with rolling glass mounds, rock boulders, benches, and large shade trees. Additionally, the play area is surrounded with seating areas and has sidewalks with ramps and handrails. Next slide, please. This slide provides a visual rendering of the play equipment. The renderings are not exact. However, you can see the key features such as the climbing tree on the bottom of the screen and how the play areas will be separated. Next slide, please. The park will also feature a black quarantine fence. Quarantine still is aesthetically pleasing and resistant to asthma. I cannot speak today, conditions. Under the top layer of rust, there's a special protective layer that prevents corrosion, thus will be less costly to maintain. The fence will curve along the park line and be visually beautiful and ensure park safety. As mentioned previously, Kathy, next slide, please. As mentioned previously, the Paula Vista Park design plans include phase 2 of the widening of the northbound Civic Center Drive from Paula Vista Drive to the adjacent 76 gas station. Additionally, the project includes undergrounding of the adjacent overhead utilities. The overall cost for the project is projected to be about $3.6 million. However, the actual costs at this time are unknown. We are excited that the city was awarded just over the $2.3 million of state park grant funds. This project has been allocated $3.5 million, which includes those grant funds, park development fees, and other transportation fees to construct the park, widen Civic Center, and underground the utilities. Next slide, please. Thank you. If the project is approved this evening, staff will utilize the plans to solicit bids for construction of the project and return to City Council to award the construction bid. Additionally, staff will return to the City Council at a later date to seek direction on an official name for the park. This concludes my presentation, and I am available for questions.
Councilmember Franklin.
Do we have any public speakers on the item?
Yes, we do.
I'd like to speak after we hear from the public.
Okay.
Do you want me to go ahead and do that now?
Yeah, do that now.
We have, so far we have one speaker, Cliff Kaiser. I'm going to go ahead and put you on. Okay, Cliff, you go ahead and speak. You've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Greetings, Council, Mayor, staff. This is a great project. I've been in support of it forever. I thank you guys for doing it, for buying the property, going through the trouble to get it done. I expressed this same concern to the Parks and Recs last night as well, though, and that it just boggles my mind why it takes 4 years to get to this stage. Plus, we're going to go out for bid, and it's probably not going to be even started for another year or so. So we have to figure out a way to get stuff like this through the process, through the bureaucracy quicker. This is a gateway entrance to the city of Vista. It's looked like hell for a long time, and it still looks like hell. That's your guys' job, is to make Vista great. And it's not happening with that park at the rate that we're going. Now, criticism aside, please proceed forward and accept my blessings and thanks for getting at least this far. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not see any other hands, so go ahead and close opportunity for public comment on this item.
Councilmember Franklin.
Well, I share Mr. Kaiser's frustration about the length of time. But that said, we did really bring the community together to help build a design for this park that everybody had some buy-in. And I will point out one thing that was a major cause of delay, but a source of jubilation. Staff identified that $2.3 million of funding, and that was worth the wait. 100%, millions of dollars of benefit to our residents that we got because of smart staff work and diligent application to the state for those funds. So we really appreciate that. That was part of the delay. The rest of it was going through the process of planning. And the government doesn't plan things at the same speed And that's something that I too would like to see fixed. I have often been a critic of the cost of planning a park. But that being said, we are, and I voiced those complaints earlier in this process about this park and other parks. So those are valid concerns, and I embrace those criticisms as things we need to do better. But at this moment, we are sort of at the very end of the process, and we are finally within striking distance of, and I have driven past this piece of land so many times. And by the way, on behalf of all the people of the 4th District that I represent, we are grateful to the staff and to my colleagues on the council for helping make this happen. It absolutely is an entryway into the city. This is going to be beautiful. This is a core goal that the city council has outlined: beautifying the city, acquiring new parklands, building new parks, beautification. This is just absolutely core. It's also the financial responsibility part. We're using funds that have been set aside specifically for park construction. And by acquiring the grant, this is fiscally responsible from top to bottom. None of this is competing for any of our general fund priorities. So this is a really smart way that we're doing this. This is just a home run for the city of Vista, that we are going to have such a beautiful park with so many amenities that is going to serve the people in this area that really need some brightening up and really need some beautification. I've met with the residents in this area as well as the business owners, and they are ecstatic, and I am ecstatic to see this begin construction. So just a million thanks to all of you who played a small and large part in making it happen. I really appreciate it, and the people in this part of our city are really going to thank you for it.
And would that be a motion?
And I would make a motion that we approve the final design and the staff resolution.
Councilmember Contreras.
First of all, I will second that motion. And I completely agree with everything that Councilmember Franklin has said. And I also just want to state that I'm really thankful that our city manager, Patrick Johnson, and our assistant city manager, Ali Zimmerman, entertained my idea of having a little delegation go over to meet with our assembly member, Tasha Berner Horvath, to make sure that we were the most competitive we could be for the grant. And in doing so, we found out it seemed like we were missing a letter. We were able to get that in on time. So I want to thank Patrick and Ali for entertaining my little delegation. But that's what we do as council members, regardless of political affiliation. We want to make sure that when there's money on the table, at least I want to make sure when there's money on the table, that I'm going to talk to everybody necessary to stretch our funds as far as possible so we can use the state money that we all pay into by taxes and everything to make sure that we beautify our city. I am so happy with the design of this park. It is fabulous. Before I was on council, me and a group of friends went and we canvassed the area just to let people know that there was, upcoming workshops. And what we heard over and over, people were just really looking for a place where their kids could play. And as we were canvassing, going from apartment to apartment, we noticed that there were a lot of youth playing in the little bits of greenery in the apartment complex. So this is going to be just an incredible asset to our community and to that neighborhood. So with that, again, second this motion. This is fabulous. Thank you so much to staff and to my colleagues for making this happen.
Councilmember Green.
All right, definitely want to echo everything my council member said. I did have a question though on your design. You talked about the redirection of the driveway that was going into the adjacent apartment complex. And I wasn't sure, I know you said before the residents only had the ability to turn right on Civic Center. And I think I'm aware that's the driveway that comes right behind the 76 station there. Does this mean they're no longer going to have the ability to turn right on Civic Center? We're just going to redirect all their access off to Paula Vista now?
No, they'll have both options now.
Okay, so are they actually going to be driving through a portion of the park, or is it?
No, and it's actually the only reason why, so that That area is not actually going to be used by the park. The reason reason for the realignment is because the way that it's structured, it's going to create too much of a slope for them to, the incline is too steep for them to come head on to it. Now with the widening of Civic Center, they used to be able to drive and then go up. Now it's kind of, because it's so narrow now with the third lane, it's a quick up. So that's the reason why for the reconfiguration.
Okay, so we provided
of course, so that it's not so much of a ramp upwards.
Okay, cool. I was just wondering, I didn't see the whole like traffic pattern on that. So that's great. And then also, yeah, props to staff on getting those grants, man. Having those additional funds available in our park budget allow us to find other areas in the city that we can build additional parks. So great job, staff, getting that done. The design of this park is awesome, and I can't wait to go hang out and also just see it when I enter into the city. I've been driving down Escondido Avenue or Civic Center Drive since it was Escondido Avenue years and years ago. And I remember those two little shacks there. I remember how that corner used to look. And even just with everything knocked down and looking like a cleared field, it looks better. So I'm really excited about the park. So thank you, everybody. And I will be ready to vote.
Deputy Mayor Rigby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to echo my colleagues. I think this is a fantastic project. Going back even before I was on the Parks and Recreation Commission, having more parks in our community, more neighborhood parks available for our residents has been huge on my list, very high priority for me. And I am so excited that we were able to do this. And I have to echo what Councilman Green said, that although it has taken some time to get to this point, even having all of that hot mess that was there before knocked down is a huge improvement. But I really am excited for this park. I thank the community for coming together and having these discussions, and the participation that we had from the community about what it was that we all wanted for that area. And I'm very excited to have this. And I want to say thank you also to staff for all the hard work you put into this. This is going to be an amazing addition to our community in a beautiful way to come into our community. It's going to truly be a gateway. So thank you very much. I look forward to it.
I agree with all of you. I won't go through everything, but I echo everything that you said. I'm so excited to see this park come to fruition, and I wish it didn't take so long. I've been waiting and watching that. And I saw some construction going on there for a while, and I thought, oh my gosh, we were doing it. And then nope, they level it out and it wasn't there. So it's coming, but it's exciting. And so I'm very excited. So let's, I'll have Kathy, we'll have a motion and we have a second. A motion by Franklin, a second by Contreras. So let's cast our votes.
All right, please state your vote when I call your name. Mayor Ritter?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rigby?
Aye.
Councilmember Franklin?
Aye.
Councilmember Green?
Aye.
Councilmember Contreras?
Aye.
Item passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay, that brings us to our third discussion item, our storm drain inspection maintenance repair. And Deputy Mayor Rigby asked for this to be put on the agenda. So I'm going to ask her to introduce the item. And if any members of the public want to speak on this item, they can indicate so by using the raise hand feature or by pressing *9 now. And then the speakers will be called upon after the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate it. This is going to be quite a conversation, I think. This came to my attention a few months ago with a particular incident, but I'm going to go ahead and read what I have written for the agenda for my item report. And then after that, Kathy will do the photographs, because I do want people to see the photographs and I have some comments on the photographs. And then I think after that, I will go with the city manager has also some slides for us to go through exactly what.
Hey, so it went well.
The city manager has some slides for me as well, so we can walk through the particulars of what I'm asking for, because this is multidimensional. So with that, the recommendation is to discuss the impact on our public storm drain system and the implications of ruptured storm drain pipes located on private property, and direct staff to come back to the City Council with a report to aid in further discussion and consideration of the options that we'll be talking about toward the end of this, including but not limited to identifying all of the storm drains that are located on private property. Right now, we don't have a good map of that, because a lot of these storm drains were put in prior to the incorporation of the city, and some of the maps that we inherited weren't complete or non-existent. Number two, to prepare a preliminary feasibility study of reconfiguring our storm drain system to redirect storm drain pipes away from private property. This is something that some other municipalities have taken on, and I think it's worth at least discussing. Identifying state and federal funding sources for storm drain repairs and or the reconfiguration project. I'll talk about that more later. Prepare a report on feasibility and steps necessary for a ballot measure creating a community financing district to fund storm drain repairs. This is not popular, but I wanted everything to be on the table and open for discussion and to be fully vetted. A public storm drain system is a series of pipes located throughout the city that collects storm water and redirects it to prevent flooding. Currently, stretches of pipe that are part of our storm drain system are located on private properties. Some of these drain pipes have greatly surpassed their expected lifespan of 50 years and are now rupturing, creating disruption in our public storm drain system and eroding the surrounding land, putting homes and families in danger. The city's position, as it is in most cities, I recognize that, has been that these are on private property, thus are private drains to be maintained by private homeowners. The Vista Municipal Code, section 13.18.100, mandates that homeowners maintain and repair these pipes located on their properties, but the cost of these repairs can range from $40,000 to more than $120,000. These costs can be impossible for most homeowners to bear without taking on a home loan or a second mortgage. In addition, although the Vista Municipal Code has these mandates, there is no guidance from the city on exactly what maintenance means or how to comply. Some homeowners with smaller breakage issues who have repaired the pipes themselves have done so without the oversight of the city to ensure proper drainage, materials, etc., which has in some cases caused some problems farther down the line for neighboring properties. This can create a domino effect throughout these neighborhoods, putting more families and properties at risk. It is of note that the homes where these ruptures are currently occurring were built in the early to mid 1950s, prior to the city's 1963 incorporation, and were permitted by the county. At the time these developments were built, the county rejected the easements, leaving the homeowners to be responsible for the drain pipes on their properties. In one instance, the developer sought and was granted the easements in order to maintain the pipes, but the developer has since long gone, leaving no mechanism for inspection or maintenance in place. Because there is no record of the city upon incorporation taking ownership nor of even receiving the map of the pipes, the city has had no effective policy for the maintenance or inspection of these pipes other than to say that it is required. So what I'm looking for is some discussion, and I have some other things to talk about on this. In our Vista Municipal Code, which I reference in my opening statement, there is a section, as it said, 13.18 on stormwater and best management practices. And in the beginning of it, it talks about definitions. It has the definitions for things. And a discharger is any person or entity engaged in activities or operations or owning facilities which will or may result in pollutants entering stormwater, the MS4, or receiving waters, and the owners of real property on which such activities, operations, or facilities are located, provided, however, that a local government or authority is not a discharger as to activities. So they also talk about later on, private home ownership. The pipes on private property are the responsibility of the private homeowner. So I had a question, and let me find it right here. You know me, my Post-it notes and my color coordinated things. Section 13.18.100 says maintenance requirements and the responsibility to maintain the owners and occupants of lands on which a storm drain system and best management practices have been installed to meet the requirements of this chapter shall ensure the maintained functionality of those structures regardless if other persons or entities identified in this section fail to do so. And because they're part of this whole section starts off with pipes that are located on private property need to be maintained. And then it talks about the responsibility to maintain them. It goes on to say that access to the requirements, storm drain system has to be adequate access for long-term inspection and maintenance purposes. So this is another section where it's not clear where the responsibility for that is, aside from the beginning where it says homeowners are responsible for this. So on this one, I have the question that it's not clear if this is only for the public pipes on public property, which I find that to be very interesting that we would have such detail in access requirements for property that we own and is our own infrastructure. And then it talks about the next section is inspection, about coming on the property and having access to the property for inspection. And that, I don't think that has happened. And there was one other one I had a question on. No, also it talks about in the Vista Municipal Code, it references the storm drain manual, which is also attached for your viewing pleasure. But in here, it starts on page 19 for residential sites and sources. And it says on item number 11, regularly inspected and maintained storm drain structures to retain design functionality. It says storm drain conveyances and structures for which the property owner is responsible for maintenance shall be inspected, maintained, and cleaned to maintain design functionality. All structural BMPs or best management practices shall be maintained in accordance with recorded maintenance agreements, and where applicable, structural BMPs shall demonstrate compliance with the city's certification program. So I had a question on this, and I don't know who can answer my question. Do we have any maintenance agreements with anybody regarding any of our storm drains in the city?
Yes, we do. We have agreements, commonly agreements with new projects where you'll have, in particular, an HOA. And so if the HOA doesn't do its job, the individual owners in that area are responsible. The inspection is, again, an obligation of the HOA, and those requirements are recorded against each property at the time those particular developments are approved.
Okay. So thank you. I appreciate that. So one of the things I want to ask is when we talk about the municipal code with the storm drain issue, where it says in the same section, 13.18.100 just addresses storm drains in general. There's no separate section for storm drains on private property and storm drains on public property. And it talks about the storm drains, owner occupant of lands on which storm drain system have been installed must meet the requirements of the chapter and be maintained. So it doesn't say this is for those, our facilities and our public right-of-way that we maintain or that we have an agreement with any of these other entities. It's just an overall statement of storm drains in the city. After it says that people with them on their property have to maintain them. So one of the issues is we have this laid out in our municipal code, but we don't really have any way to communicate with people, with homeowners who have these drains on their private property. What does maintenance look like? And then the section in here that says, to have access to it, who wants to have access to it if they're not the ones responsible for it? So I think there are a couple of things in our municipal code that we might be able to clean up a little bit. But aside from that, one of the asks that I have is that we do some type of education or collaborative effort for these homeowners that have these drains on their property of what does it mean I have to maintain it. What is that defined as? But I thought maybe this might be a good point, Kathy, if we want to go through the photographs so people can see some of the damage that's been done to some of the homeowners. And it's worth noting, while Kathy puts that up on the screen, that some of the property owners who purchased their homes where this is happening, it was not in their paperwork. It was not in their title search. It was not in their escrow papers that they had these pipes on their property. They were never aware that it was there until these breaks occurred, flooding their property. And so I'm not sure if there's anything as a city that we can do to work with whatever entities we need to work with to make sure that when people are buying homes, they're informed of everything they need to be informed of. But I think that might be where some mapping of this storm drain system comes into play. But part of that is homeowners insurance and title insurance don't pay for the repairs for storm drains. And so when you look at these pictures, if we can go to the next picture, next slide, please. This one is just of an easement, and it's curious that it looks like it's well maintained, but nobody knows what the easement is for. At some point in the past, somebody was responsible for a drain that goes up that way. Okay, the next slide, please. So this is one of the properties here in Vista that is a significant loss of pipe. The pipe came completely separated. And there's another picture to show you where the break is, but you can see, and this is the same pipe, and you can see in this picture a little bit farther down how far the earth is eroding beneath this pipe. So we can go to the next slide. This is the same one again from a slightly different angle, and you can see again how the crack on the side here on the left, sort of in the left center, there are several cracks around the yard in this property where more of the earth will be separating. Next slide, please. This is that same pipe. This is the same yard, and you can see this is where the actual break was, that it came completely apart. And it wasn't one of the old concrete pipes. This is an old metal corrugated one that probably just rusted out. Like I said earlier, they have a 50-year lifespan expectancy, but these homes were built in the early to mid 50s. So they are very, very well past their 50-year lifespan. And this was one of the properties that there was no idea this pipe was here. It wasn't in their paperwork. Which, of course, that makes a difference. If you find out that you're buying a house with a storm drain under it that you're responsible for, you may or may not choose to buy that house. Next slide, please. This is another property. This is a different property in Vista that has the same issue. And this is a picture of the backyard looking down where it has completely washed down a hill. And you can see bricks from a wall that fell down. Next slide, please. This is that same property and some of the damage done. Next slide, please. Again, this is that property, and you can see where the pipe has busted, where the corrugated metal pipe is busted completely apart right there. Next slide. Again, that same house. And again, this is another house where the homeowners were not identified as having a storm drain in their property that they were responsible for. There was nothing in the escrow papers, nothing in the title search, no discussion from the real estate agent. So they were unaware that they had anything that was happening, that there was a pipe on their property. And sadly, they are recent homeowners to purchasing this property. And I believe the break and the flood that washed part of their yard down the hill happened just weeks after they bought and moved into the property. Next slide, please. And this is another angle of a different part of their yard. And you can see they had a fence. There was a fence that went up along the side. Again, this house had an easement up the side that used to be maintained and used, but hasn't been for a very long time. And people don't know who it was that was supposed to maintain this. But this is another angle of the same property where the damage pulled out the fencing that they'd had there. Next slide, please. Same piece of property. Next slide, please. And this is the same property, and this just illustrates again how this is only a couple of feet from the edge of where the back of the property went down the hill. And this is just another couple of feet. And this crack goes a great length of the backyard, indicating that this is also getting ready to fall down into the new hole that they have back there. Next slide, please. And this is yet another property. And this is the dividing line, the fence line between two properties. And you can see the curb, the concrete curbing, and the earth underneath it is gone. The earth underneath the fence and some of the rocks and the dirt have gone into that hole. This is a property where the homeowner has had, I think it was 20 contractors come out and look at it, but the depth of the pipe on this property is significant, and there isn't a contractor that she has been in touch with that would be willing to go down to that depth. And then the amount of destruction to both her property and the property next door would be significant in trying to get down there to repair that pipe. But this one also illustrates where the neighbor whose house I'm at taking pictures and walking the property is willing to work and work on the pipe and fix the pipe. The neighbor, however, is not. The neighbor is not willing and not returning calls. And I don't know how, I certainly wouldn't see a hole in my house happening in my yard like this and not want to address it. So that's another thing that we need to talk about is if we're going to put the onus on the homeowners and they're completely responsible for this, what happens when we get into a situation like this? As a city, this is our storm drain system. This is part of, and I know that people don't like me saying it, but this is part of our public storm drain system. And this is part of public health and public safety, that we don't have these storm waters with any contaminants flooding our community. So if we as a city want to maintain this and maintain a level of public safety and public health, what are we going to do to help mitigate a situation like this where you have one resident who doesn't say anything, they're just not willing to work with the city or work with the neighbor or work with anybody to get this done? What do we have in our toolbox to make sure that this does get done? And I'd like to, we can talk about what would happen if this never got done because of this homeowner's unwillingness to do that. But this hole, I was down there and I didn't want to get too close because I didn't want to, have something happen with the earth and us all fall into it. But just the fact that it's such a big black hole and you can't see down there, I can tell you standing right next to it, you still couldn't see down there because it's so far down. There's so much of the earth that is just gone. The pipe is so far down, we couldn't even see it. Next slide. I don't know if there is a next slide. There is not a next slide. Okay. So I do know that initially when I was contacted, and Patrick, if you want to do your slides, I don't know what you have, but when I was first contacted about this issue a few months ago, my initial response was, oh my goodness gracious, we have to come out here and fix this because it's part of the public storm drain system. But in research and discussions with city staff and the city attorney, it turns out that in the state of California, storm drains, even if they feed into the public storm drain system that protects our city, if it is located on private property, the state recognizes it as a private pipe to be maintained by the private property owner. And there has been a lot of case law on this that says the same thing, that backs that up. And most recently here in the city of San Diego, there was a case, the Ruiz case that was just published this year, 2020, that also holds that up, that the municipalities, the jurisdictions are actually not responsible for the repair of these pipes. That, even though it's the state law and we have all this case law that supports it, and there's no appetite for us to do anything different, doesn't make it any harder any easier for me to accept that. So one of the things that I would like to talk about, and I did a little bit of research on my own, is in addition to working on a program with our homeowners that might have these pipes under their houses, under their private property, working with them about what does maintenance look like? What are you responsible for? So that we don't get to a point where these pipes are just destroyed, disintegrated, and flooding and washing your house down the hill. The first one you saw up on the hill, that hill goes down. He's got 2 houses right behind him. And I've met with one of those homeowners as well and talked with them about the concern of it. And with the shifting of the hillside and the shifting of the earth, how that is also shifting his backyard as well currently. And so there is some concern with what's going to happen with that. And that repair was roughly, the quotes that homeowner received were upwards of $100,000, $120,000. So that was a pretty significant one. So especially for the homeowners that didn't know they had these pipes, they didn't set up a maintenance account so that they could do their own maintenance or have contracts come in. I wanted to see what could we do to help our property owners that have these pipes, that have these problems. And when we incorporated as a city, this was never considered. Nobody had the vision to look out 50 or 60 years and say, what are we going to do when these pipes all start breaking? Aside from it's not our problem, I think it is our problem. And I think as we as a people and we as Vistans have to look at this picture as a whole. So I was looking at some different things that we might be able to do to find funding through the federal government or the state government. And I know that Fema has some funding for some things. So that's one of the asks that I want to have, is to see if we can identify some funding that we might be able to tap into, working in concert or on behalf of or helping direct our homeowners on how to access this money to make these repairs. And I know that the city attorney is really worried about anything that I want to do or talk about or vote on that will have the city taking responsibility or ownership of the system. And I know that I need to avoid that, and I understand that. And I see his face right now because and all the people whose pictures that I've shown and whose properties I have walked, I have talked with them about this, and they understand all the nuances. But that doesn't mean that we can't be good people. That doesn't mean that we can't be a good city and that we can't be a good partner and collaborate with people on how to fix this. So without taking ownership, because I know that's what the city is not going to do, finding ways that we can fund these repairs. That's one of the things that I would like to ask staff to come back to, is to research programs that we might have on a federal level or a state level. Or I don't know, there might even be some private nonprofits out there who are really big on storm drains. There might be other monies out there. But I'd like to see what we can identify in funding to help our homeowners. Because taking out $120,000 second mortgage on your home, to me, is not realistic. I do know that the city has talked about doing a different project or different program. So I'd like to see what other funding mechanisms or helping these residents, what we can do. So that's one of the asks I have, is for the staff to come back and talk about some of the things that we could do in that respect. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask about was on the education and the partnership with the community and talking about our municipal code, the way that it states in one section, storm drains in general, and it doesn't delineate private versus public, except to say if it's on private property, you're still responsible for it. So I would like to put together something that will help homeowners know how to maintain them, what that looks like, what that's going to entail, and how much it's going to cost them. I think that we as a city can be a better partner. We can be better at communication with our constituency and with our residents. And that's something that I would like us to see, try to do a little bit better job of. So I think that's something that we could talk about, and maybe staff can put together some things on ways that we might be able to do that. The other thing I wanted to ask about was the feasibility, or can we actually do a map of the storm drains? And because there are so many storm drains out there that we actually don't know about and the residents don't know about, if we have more information about where our storm drains are, can we do a map and publish this map? And perhaps we might identify storm drains across private properties that we could alert these property owners to and let them know that, you know, you have this storm drain on your property and this is what that means. So that would be something else that I think would be really beneficial for our community and help with the communication and perhaps getting in front of something before their backyard floats downhill. So I don't know if that's possible to do. So that's also in my ask, what I'd like to do. And then I don't know about the real estate portion of it. I'm not a realtor. I know we've got two here on the council. I don't know what happens. And I think we have people on city staff who probably this is more in their wheelhouse. How can we ensure, and especially if we have a map to show where the pipes are, how can we ensure that people are being notified that they have pipes on their property? And if they're not notified, they have no idea this is there, and then they're looking at $100,000 to fix their property. What recourse do they have? I'm sure that, you know, the recourse for them in that situation is to have a discussion with a realtor. But as a city, what can we do to make sure that these pipes show up in whatever title search is done or whatever information it is that realtors or title companies look at to make sure that this information gets into that database, I guess is my ask. And what can we do as a city to ensure that that happens so that people aren't buying houses without knowing the ramifications? Because some of these homeowners could very well lose their houses. They could lose all of the money they put in their homes. And that's a lifetime of work to buy a home and invest in a home, and then you have nothing to show for it. Once you have paid essentially the cost of a second home to fix a pipe that you didn't know you had. To me, this is devastating for these families. It is absolutely devastating. So I'm looking through my notes. Please bear with me. And then I do have a question for the city attorney or the city manager. I'm not sure which, because this question has come up a couple of times in the last couple of months. And it's regarding the city of Santee. An assertion has been made that the city of Santee faced a similar situation and took ownership of it. I am not aware of the particulars of that. Does anybody know anything about that? No?
From my recollection, the city of Santee had an issue with I believe it was a single development that had private storm drains, and it wasn't citywide, but I don't remember the particulars on it.
Okay, thank you. So the other one, and this is, I've seen in my research and trying to find funding to fix these storm drains, I came across a couple of articles as well where other municipalities have actually, because this became such a problem in their communities, almost identical situation. The homes are really old or older than their community is, their incorporation is. Paperwork got lost somewhere in the ether. Homeowners are not aware that they have these problems, and they're looking at tens of thousands or $100,000 to repair them. So a couple of these municipalities actually took on the issue of reconfiguring their storm drains, meaning whatever they had to do on the private property coming in, you know, the storm drain from the street coming into the private property, capped it, and then reconfigured all of the storm drains away from private property so that the homeowners weren't going to have to deal with this and dig up their properties. Like the one picture I showed you with the green grass going down below two properties. That's a significant tear up right there across two properties. So I don't know what it would entail for us to talk about reconfiguring our storm drain system to get it away from these properties. I do know it wouldn't have to be something done entirely across the city, because my understanding is in later development, like for Shadow Ridge, that whole area was built where the storm drains actually do not go across people's properties. Am I correct in that? Anybody? my understanding is that the storm drain system in Shadow Ridge does not go under people's private homes. So that would be something to look at on these other properties. Anyway, okay. So that would be something that we could talk about if that's feasible. If, looking at what some of these other communities have done, and I'm happy to provide a list to staff to see what it cost them. What did it entail? Is it something feasible for a community of our size to do something like that? So anyway, for my colleagues, what I'm asking for is for us to have another discussion, a more fully vetted discussion on this issue, because it really does break my heart to see that some of these families are looking at significant property loss, significant financial loss. And we have a couple that are having trouble getting somebody to come out and actually fix it. And then we have a problem with the one homeowner that doesn't want to respond to anything. And as a city, I think we need to take ownership on some level. You can't tell homeowners that they have to repair these and not be part of the process. To at least ensure that the proper materials are used, the pipes are repaired in such a way that they aren't going to impact the next property or any other properties down the line. Because if that happens, we could have this domino effect. And that really does affect the public safety and the public health of our community with the storm drain system. And I know that these are private pipes on private property, but they feed into our public storm drain system. So when there's a problem with those, then there's a problem with our whole storm drain system that puts our entire community at risk. So those were my asks that in the things that I would like to see city staff come back and give us some information on about what we can do, what we can't do, what we might be able to do, and how we might be able to do them. So I don't know if we need to have a motion for these items, or if this can be a consensus to have staff come back with us on these 5 items.
And Deputy Mayor, if it might help, I did put together a few slides with staff's assistance to maybe put some of the issues, clarify some of the issues, if this would be a good time.
Sure.
Just as an FYI on the Santee decision, from what I recollect, the county at the time, prior to Santee's incorporation, I believe accepted the easements, but it wasn't recorded properly. And so years later, they went back with Santee and then figured out the minutes did record it properly, that they should have been accepted. And so there was a change, but that was for a particular subdivision. And in the case of Shadow Ridge, Shadow Ridge has very few private easements I should say, Shadow Ridge has very few private storm drains in the master development itself.
So it's not unheard of that it can be done. Just not sure if we can do it after the fact. I understand.
Yeah.
I think it is. I don't remember if I said it earlier, that the county, when these developments that I'm talking about here in our community were built, the county of San Diego rejected the easements, leaving it to the private property owners. But since the 1950s, we're talking 60 some years ago, things have gotten lost in the process. So if you want to go ahead with your slides.
Kathy, if you can pull up the slideshow. Next slide, please. And I think the deputy mayor's covered most of this in terms of the property owner's responsibility for downstream waters and making provisions for that. Kathy, you can go to the next slide. So the question was asked what it would take to form a community facilities district and go out to the community. And so I wanted to kind of walk through these 3 sections here with you. The first one says identify private facilities. And really what that means is going through the entire city and making sure that we do our due diligence in terms of verifying existing infrastructure, getting the dimensions, in some cases going on the property where we can't necessarily figure it out from our records or from just standing outside the property. So it's a very detailed look at all of the different private storm drains that exist. And so this could take up to 12 months to do. Again, it's in the field work that's time intensive, and the estimated cost is about $500,000 for this work. So if you wanted to start a CFD or a community facilities district, this would be the first thing that you'd have to do to be able to understand what the magnitude of the issue is. And then next, what we'd want to do is we'd want to create a master plan. And you see there, master plan including redirection options. What that means is instead of going onto all of these private properties and rebuilding or repairing existing systems that may not be in the best shape or may not be in the best situation in terms of location on the property, we'd want to look at where we can, creating a new storm drain system. So that way we could redirect the flows around these properties into the public right of way. Like it says here, 18 to 21 months is what's estimated. This also includes doing an environmental impact report, and that would be done concurrently with the master plan. And the timing on that is estimated to be 18 to 21 months. And then once you have all that information and you've identified where the facilities are, what the master plan would look like, you could then start putting together the analysis for the community facilities district. Obviously, once we're in the process, if the council wanted to go in this direction, we would already be working towards the CFD, but we'd have to wait until the master plan was completed so we could understand what the magnitude is and what is needed currently to bond for and what is needed in the future so that a rate structure could be set up for residents to be able to vote on. I would state that any sort of CFD, if we were to pursue it, we would want to go out and do public engagement. We'd want to be able to understand if this is something that could pass, because as you can see on the slide, you're looking at a total of $2.2 million. And so we'd want to make sure that there was a chance that this could be successful and that there was voters that would want to do it. And as a side note, it would take for the CFD, since it would be a special tax, it would take 2/3 majority for approval of the CFD. But this is kind of a rough estimate of what we think it would take to identify all those properties that have the storm drains and the master plan timing and cost just to design it. And then it would be, obviously, we'd come up with the amount that we'd need from a capital perspective and how we would roll that out with the CFD. Next slide, Kathy. So you mentioned what are some available funding sources? And certainly, since we've been talking in the last couple of weeks, we have looked at different funding options. None of these are specific to private storm drain repair or redoing. However, some of these fit the criteria that might be possible for assistance. So that first one there is the Fema Hazard Mitigation Assistant Grant. And it turns out that FEMA is going out on September 30th for this grant. They've allocated $660 million, and applications start on September 30th and go all the way through the end of January, if I'm not mistaken. In order to be able to access these dollars, though, we would have to go under the state and be a sub-applicant. So we would have to work with the state on our projects. The good thing about this grant is it looks like it is a grant that is trying to mitigate problems before they occur. So they're looking at trying to save loss of life, trying to save loss of property before it occurs, not after it occurs. So that is certainly one area that we would and can pursue. The other one on here is the Environmental Protection Agency, otherwise known as the EPA, their reuse grant program. We're not sure that we would totally fall within this grant program because it is a reuse program for both sewer and stormwater. But we would certainly dig deeper into this to find out if this was a source that we could take advantage of. On there is the Bureau of Reclamation grant program. Typically, this is for water infrastructure, new water infrastructure, but there is some language in there regarding stormwater, so we definitely take a look at that as well. And then the last item on there is the CDBG capital dollars. And currently, we generate capital dollars each year through the CDBG program, as most of you know. We generated last year, I think it was $695,000. The city council for the last 2 years or 3 years has dedicated those monies to go to installing sidewalks in CDBG eligible neighborhoods. And so that's what we've spent the money on. But certainly, if the council was willing, we could use some of these monies, or all of those monies, frankly, for sewer and water infrastructure, including storm drains, in CDBG eligible areas only. And so that is another source that we've identified that's a possibility. So those are 4 sources that we'll certainly continue to dig deeper into and see where we might have viability. Kathy, if you can go to the next slide. And so I think the Deputy Mayor obviously covered section 1318-100, which talks about the responsibility. But I think where the Deputy Mayor was really going was, and what she said was updating our information to the public, or creating information to the public for them to better understand what the best maintenance practices are for the storm drains that might reside on their property, and to give them more education. And so by all means, we can certainly do more than what we currently do in terms of providing information and promoting the information to property owners. We can do that via our website. We can do it with social media. We can create a fact sheet to property owners. And since you brought this issue up last week, we've been doing a lot of digging into what other cities provide to their residents that do provide it. Not all of them do, but we certainly got some good tips. And this is something we can turn around in a pretty fast order to be able to educate the public and answer their questions. One of the other items I just wrote down was also identifying these systems and how much it would cost to repair them. And I will say that it's a little tricky for us to identify cost, obviously. If we did a master plan and you wanted us to go through that, we would have the ability to do that. But if we're providing just things on the website in terms of information or fact sheets, we would not be able to put any sort of accurate cost on there due to the fact that everybody's system is entirely different. Some might be corrugated metal pipe, the lengths of the runs might be different, the topography or the terrain might be different. So that's not something we would be able to do. That is just the sheets that were put together with some of the information to answer some of your questions that were in the recommendation section. I did put together a slide on a potential silent second process that could be used for more immediate relief. So if the council wants to entertain that at some point in this discussion, I do have a slide that I could walk through if that would be helpful to the city council. And that ends these slides for this purpose.
So I have a question on the silent second.
Sure.
That has been brought up. And what that would be is that the city would loan the homeowner the money to repair the property, but take out a silent second against your home. And then when you sell your home, you would pay the city back the amount of money that was loaned to you for the repairs. As it's been discussed, and you know I wasn't a fan of that because, again, you're taking away somebody's hard-earned lifelong dream and equity in their home and being able to pass something on to their families. But I also understand that for some of the families that are in dire straits right now, they don't have the money to make these repairs. Their insurance doesn't pay for it, and they don't have the extra $60,000 to $100,000 laying around to do that. That's definitely dipping into college funds and more of a financial burden than most people can bear. So I see where that might be beneficial and something that somebody would want to take on. If that were something that somebody took on and accepted from the city to do, and we were able to find funding later or find a funding mechanism later, I would want to see us be able to forgive those silent seconds and repay the city back through whatever funding mechanism that we were able to identify. I wouldn't want to have somebody take advantage of the silent second opportunity and then for us to find money and them still owe us that money at the back end. So I don't know if anybody can speak to that, but I
would just, in response to that, if the council were to go down the route of a silent second and wanted to start up a program like that, and the city was able to be successful at securing funding for storm drain replacements, and you had the flexibility with that money, that would be a decision on the council at that time that you could make a decision on that lien on the property. I will say there's a caveat there, though, that most grant opportunities that we pursue, most funding mechanisms are very specific on how that is going to be spent. And if a year down the line, 6 months, 3 years, whatever that time frame is, we said, well, this pipe's been repaired, but we'd like to recoup funding for it. That may be a very tall ask to those regulatory agencies that provide the money.
Okay. I thought so. I wanted to ask it and have it talked about out loud. So there's as you can tell, as my colleagues can tell, this is a huge issue and it affects all of our community. And as a city, we can't just say, Bob, too bad you got this pipe on your property and it busted, but good luck to you. That's not who I want to be as a Vistan, as a council member. That's not what I want for our city. And I know the state law says all this and all these lawsuits say all this, and that's fine for them. But I expect better from Vista. I think we can do better as a city. And I don't know what that all looks like. I have all these asks. I've had this long conversation. I just think that we can be a better partner with our residents than we have been in the past. I will say, in looking at the code hasn't been changed on this in years. I think the one section I was reading out of was from like 1990, 91 or 92, something like that. And some of them are probably a little bit farther back than that. So it might be time for us to revisit our storm drain code anyway, to clean up some of the language and get rid of some of the ambiguity. So at this point, I would like to hear from my colleagues to see if you have any comments or if you would agree with me that some of these we can ask the city staff to come back with a bit more fully vetted ideas or, fully vetted reasons why it won't work for us. So at that point, Madam Mayor, I'm going to hand it over to you so we can hear from my colleagues.
Do we have speakers? City Clerk?
Yes, we do. We have a few speakers who would like to address the council.
The council want to hear the speakers first? Shaking your heads, yes. Okay, so let's hear the speakers first, and then we'll go to the council.
Okay. I will call each person's name, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. So the first person is going to be Damian Lopez. Go ahead, Damian.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Appreciate your time, and thank you, Amanda, for your presentation. I just really wanted to echo the gravity of the situation for us. During those rains last April, I was literally at the point with my family where we were considering evacuating our house because we thought our house was going to come down the hill. My pictures were the pictures for the first one shown. 2 years ago, that hole was the size of a gopher hole. Now I could park multiple cars in it. All that water is only being fed through that inlet that the city maintains from the public streets. I've worked my best. I've contacted our title insurance. I've contacted my home insurance, continuously turned away because if they tell me this pipe does not serve my house or my property in any way, it's only there to route water from the streets. The streets have no other way to route water in this neighborhood. Again, I've reached out to the city. I've been told it's a private problem and they can't help fix the pipe and they cannot, I cannot block the pipe. So I don't have a lot of recourse to take here. I don't have the $100,000 to repair this on myself. So I'm really looking for any assistance. Right now I'm in a situation where if we get a big rainstorm next weekend, I don't know what's going to happen to my property or the properties underneath me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next, we have Pat. Pat, if you'll please tell us your last name and spell it. Go ahead, Pat.
Muted.
There you go.
Decurtins.
Thank you.
We bought our home here in 1966. I've lived here for 52 years. Raised all my kids here. And on my title, it just says 4-foot easement for drainage. It in no way says I'm responsible for it. So I'm in the same shape as everybody else. I knew there was an easement, but the first I knew it was a private easement is when I had a 6-foot sinkhole in my backyard, gobbling down my brand new $30,000 worth of landscaping when it rained last year. So I have called 20 different people and organizations to get them come out and look and say, how can we fix this? And I'm just hitting a brick wall everywhere except Burtec. But Burtec would charge me $1,800 a day to look at 20 feet of the pipe, fix it, look at the next 20 feet, because the bottom from the street, from the catch basin, if you look 20 feet in, there's no bottom to that pipe anymore. It's totally rusted out. So they could fix that. They go another 20 feet, keep fixing it. And if they can do the whole 180 feet that runs along my property at $1,800 every 20 feet, then maybe they could reline the pipe. However, it has to be done from my neighbor's side of the yard who is not cooperating. So I'm willing but cannot fix the pipe. So what do I do? That's my problem. I need the city to tell me what I can do or what should be done, because it maybe is, because it is buried 20 feet deep, it cannot be dug up. So how do you fix something that cannot be fixed? I need advice from the city, and the city just keeps telling me it's my problem.
Thank you, Pat. Next, we have Stephanie, I apologize if I say this wrong, Tiamave. Oops, sorry, Stephanie. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Stephanie.
I'm going to use my teacher voice. I'm a third grade teacher. So good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. My name is Stephanie Tuimavave, and I live on Maryland Drive in Vista. To start, thank you for taking the time to look into this matter. This issue is not only important to my family, I am also speaking on behalf of the 50+ homes that rely on the inadequately maintained storm drain in my yard, and residents in our neighborhoods experiencing similar issues. In March, my husband and I bought our first home in Vista and thought our dream as a young family were really becoming a reality. In April, after the heavy rainstorm, I saw my backyard turn into a 15-foot wide sinkhole. After 3 days of researching and calling the city, it was concluded that the sinkhole in our backyard was a result of a collapsed storm drain, and the 50+ homes and 5 city streets rely on the drain to funnel storm water away from the houses and off of streets. In further research, the city has determined the storm drain as a private matter, and I, the new homeowner, am responsible for fixing the drain that benefits the entire neighborhood. The city was able to provide photographs taken by a city employee in 2011 showing our drain and its corrosion. What is very concerning is that the city has been fully aware of its collapsed drain and did nothing to mitigate the issue or bring the drain up to code to protect the public from its backup. In addition, the storm drains on the streets that funnel into our backyard were not properly labeled with the Protect Our Waterways logo, which indicates that those drains lead to sensitive habitats. In fact, the city only recently labeled these drains after we pointed out that there was no oversight by the city on potential hazardous wastes and pollutants entering our backyard from stormwater runoff. I have photos to prove this. Even if I fix this quote unquote private issue, I still have to go through the city in order to make sure the drain is up to code. Hiring a civil engineer, excavators, obtaining permits, etc., is simply too much for a full-time third grade public school teacher and way out of my expertise. It is not feasible for a normal homeowner to maintain a complex storm drain system. This is really a city responsibility, as demonstrated by the fact that there is an entire division of city government dedicated to this purpose. In conclusion, I agree with the recommendation that the city look for funding sources to ensure it adequately maintain and repair storm drains, or a reconfiguration project to direct all stormwater pipes away from private property. I appreciate Deputy Mayor Rigby's attention to this matter. Thank you so much, Amanda. And I look forward to the city staff bringing back this item to the city council meeting in the future for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jake Ayers. Go Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Council. I want to introduce myself quickly. I actually am the attorney for Ms. Twimavave, and as well as some of the other co-owners of that property. Happy to speak back to back. But first of all, I just wanted to thank Deputy Mayor Rigby for taking up this issue and taking it seriously. My clients and I sincerely appreciate you bringing this issue literally to the table and, bringing it to light and starting this dialogue. I really want to thank you for your efforts there. I also want to thank the city manager for exploring the possibility of a master plan. Candidly, I think if you are thinking long term, that is going to minimize your risk as a city into the future. If you want to be far-sighted about this situation. I also just want to raise two questions. First, I've done some digging on this topic, and it looks like what happened is, like you have identified, a lot of these easements were supposed to be dedicated prior to the incorporation of the city of Vista, back when this was under the jurisdiction of the county. Has the city considered approaching the county about any potential solutions in terms of managing the storm drain system? And then secondly, I just wanted to ask about whether, if we're talking about getting aid packages, whether through FEMA or otherwise, for these homeowners whose lives have really been upended by the city's decision to not take responsibility for these storm drains, are they going to apply on behalf of the homeowners and pool the money and then distribute it? Or are these just grants that the homeowners could be pursuing on their own now? So I leave it. Thank you for your time. And I just wanted to raise those two issues.
Thank you. And that completes oral communication on this item.
Okay, then we'll go to the council, and maybe I'll start, because this is, I feel so bad for these people. As a real estate agent, if I had sold one of those houses to them, I don't know. Usually title has all the easements on there, and I when I sell houses or when I help buyers buy them, I have them color plot easements, and we look at the easements to be sure that they're there. And I'm not sure why none of these easements are on the titles. Apparently, when the county rejected it or turned it over, did they not put the easements on the titles? I haven't seen any of their titles, so I can't tell, what because I haven't seen that. But I just think I feel bad for all the people, but I also think that it's not our city's fault that it wasn't turned over, that nobody told us about it, and we're just finding this out now. And I think it's not our fault. I would go with, identify any grants out there. I would support that. Any kind of funding that's out there, I would support going forward on that. I would support possibly doing a silent second, to be recorded so they could do something right away on their properties. I get the problem with it is that they lose their equity when they get the silent second, then they lose some of the equity in their house to repair this. But on the long run, I don't know how you can live with it being like that. It'll just get worse when it rains. So the only other thing I would say was I would support any kind of education, collaborative, or efforts on how to maintain it. And I don't know if there's a way to find out where these easements are and to turn it over to the title companies or to the county, that would put them, record them on people's titles. I don't know. I don't know if that's something that's possible to do. If it is, I think that would be something that I would support. So I will just leave it at that for the moment, and turn it over to whoever wants to go next. How about Councilmember Green?
Sure, I'll go next. All right. So thank you so much, Deputy Mayor Rigby, for your presentation and your diligent work in the community. I know, especially with your injury prone, walking towards all of those, unsecure ground. I'm glad you're okay. So yes, don't go close to the ground. Okay, take pictures from afar. A few things you said too that I completely agree with. A maintenance awareness campaign Showing what requirements are for storm drains, I think, is huge. I'm glad that staff has kind of already taken the lead on that and kind of seen what other cities are doing. I've never been told what to do to maintain a storm drain in my area or on my property, and that would be pretty cool to know if there's one running underneath it. Also, having staff find sources of funding to help ease the burden of homeowners, I think, is a huge plus. We need them out there looking for grant funding for this. The fact that FEMA has some funding coming up at the end of September, I think, is a blessing in disguise. Maybe that's the exact funding source we've been looking for. You made a very, very good point about the Silent Second program. I would also be in favor of a Silent Second, because that would mean we could give homeowners money immediately right now, and that could be added to their loan balance, or it would take away their equity per se. But if there was an avenue for a potential forgiveness of that second in the future, in the event we received money from the government, I'd be okay writing some type of stipulation, or while staff researches this, kind of figuring out what that would look like, because we can't necessarily wait to fix it. You heard one of the homeowners say the next rain could be the last one that he has a home. So I think this is something that we need to jump on. So a Silent Second does free up money, and it also kind of relieves us of giving public funds to private citizens from that aspect. And when we get the grant, we would be able to kind of offset those funds that we had out. So I'd definitely be open to that. One thing I would want to see before we do anything is title reports. And I know, Deputy Mayor, you said it wasn't listed on their title reports. I'm not sure if you saw their title reports. I did pull the subdivision map of the Highlands area over there, just so that I could see what the plotted easements were in that development. And that covers the Judah Lynn Street, Amador, kind of that area, the area over there. And it does plot the easements, and it does specifically show where the storm drain is on the map from a plotted easement standpoint, but I wasn't able to see what the actual verbiage is on the Schedule B. And for those of you who don't know, a title report on a Schedule B has all of the items that transfer are pertinent with the property, water rights, storm drains, property taxes, CC&Rs, and a homeowners association. So the Schedule B is where you would see any easements that affect the desirability or the marketability of that property. So I'm looking forward to seeing some Schedule Bs on some of these properties to figure out what was disclosed to them and were there any maintenance requirements. Because if there's ever like a private road, say, there's private roads that are on a lot of these properties that the city doesn't maintain, typically there's a private road maintenance agreement in that title report. So there very well could be a private storm drain maintenance agreement, or there could not be at all, which could be why we're in the situation we're in. So I definitely think looking into all of that would be something that we as a council should do to make sure that we're allocating funds as necessary. But I definitely think we need to do something to take care of these homeowners immediately. I think the Silent Second is the quickest way to do it, but I would want to make sure that we offered this Silent Second with the caveat that we want to work out a way to forgive it in the event we receive a grant. And also, what's the fallback plan if we don't get the grant? When do you pay it back? At what percentage? Is there any forgiveness of that second if it's held for a certain amount of time? I know when there's down payment assistance programs on a Silent Second, if they keep the home for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, those seconds are forgiven after a certain amount of time. So maybe there's different stipulations we could put on those. But that's all I got from this aspect. I do appreciate you bringing it forward, Deputy Mayor. I think the staff's got some work ahead of them. I don't want to get into spending millions of dollars on studies and master plans at this point. I do just kind of want to say, hey, what type of money is out there and how can we bring awareness to the situation immediately? So hopefully that helped. Thank you.
Councilmember Franklin, you want to go?
Sure. I just want to thank Deputy Mayor Rigby for bringing this forward. Our heart goes out to the families that have been affected by this. I, too, would support the Silent Second option, and I, too, want to see all the options and want staff to pursue grants and whatever other options are available to the city to help us help our residents out of this horrible predicament that they're in. And I second what Councilman Green said. We've got to look for a fiscally prudent solution to the problem, but definitely want to be part of doing something to help these people.
Councilmember Contreras?
Yeah, sure. You know what? I'm like all my colleagues, very thankful that Deputy Mayor Rigby brought this forward. This is it's not a good situation for a lot of these homeowners. So even though it's not technically the responsibility of the city, we do have a responsibility to ensure public safety, and it's kind of hard to argue that this isn't part of that. So I do 100% support a silent second option. And I thought Councilmember Green brought up some very good points. So I would like to investigate a little bit more, if there's some kind of forgiveness that could eventually happen, especially because when you buy a home, you're a lot of times you're looking to stay there for a long time and pass it down to your kids. So we want to ensure that, if these folks are staying here that for a long time, that maybe there's potential for the city to help financially there. As far as the CFD, I really don't think that is going to make it through. I mean, the threshold for that to pass is so high, and the cost for us to prepare to even get to that point is very high. I would rather like to use any kind of funds like that towards, helping these homeowners. And I think it's very, very important for us to identify any state or federal funding sources. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. As far as way down the road, I think it would be important for us to be able to identify storm drains on private property. But the need right now is more immediate than that. And I think the best way for us to meet this need in our city is to move forward as quickly as possible with the Silent Second program.
Okay, so they have enough direction. Councilmember Green, did you want to say something again? Or are you just waving your arm? Okay. I don't see anybody else wanting to talk. So, City Manager, do you have enough information to go forward on this?
Yes, I do. I didn't know if Deputy Mayor wanted to respond to that since it was her item.
She wanted to say.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate the comments from my colleagues. I know that the CFD, the Community Financing District, is a hard pill for people to swallow, but it does, allow for some funding to. I keep calling it's a public storm drain system. I know that people have a hard time with that because it's on private property, and the law defines it as a private pipe on private property. I just see it as a public benefit because it is a public benefit to our community. It's part of our public storm drain system. And so I really think that we could do better, that we could do more for our community. So, but in talking with people, I understand that putting it on the property tax, $20, $30 a year, people aren't really in favor of that. And I have talked with quite a few people, and some people said absolutely, and then a few people said no. So that would have to be fully vetted. We'd have to do a little bit more outreach before we started down that road. And I appreciate the comment that money could be used directly on this problem itself. So I recognize that, and I appreciate that. So I want to say thank you to my colleagues for the support on the Silent Second, and even the support on finding a way that we could forgive it. Because I really do think that, you buy this home and you lose all of your equity, you lose all of your interest in it. It just really deflates, takes away, and it's something that is very difficult for a family to have to bear, even long term. So I appreciate that. So my understanding is through everybody's comments that we're going to talk about the Silent Second. We're going to bring that back fully vetted, or whatever you need to do on that, but also looking at funding for the storm drain repairs. And I think somebody asked the question if that money would go directly to the homeowners that are in need, or if it would go to the city and the city would put it out. My understanding in reading through it, because I did read through some of the grants, and one of them through FEMA, I think the city manager said it goes through, it's underwritten, or you have to go through the state. And I did reach out to the state liaison. I haven't heard back yet. So I think it goes to the city. My understanding is that FEMA money would go to the city, and then the city would be responsible for using it for these things. So I don't know how those logistics would work, getting it to the homeowner. But that's one of those things to come back with more information on. So I really appreciate the city manager taking the time and the energy to hear my concerns about this, because this is very dire, especially for Mr. Lopez's property, the one with the big pipe that's completely open, and you've seen it's, almost half of his yard is gone at this point. And if he has any more rains, I worry about he and his family, just like the Bave family. They have little babies. They're young families just starting out, and this is devastating. And I know not long after I walked the property for Mr. Lopez and talked with he and his wife and tried carefully not to fall into the hole while I was taking pictures. A couple of weeks later, it started raining again, and it was really late at night. And I knew that he was up, and I called him and asked him, "Are you guys okay? I'm thinking about you, and we're going to work on this. We're going to try to get this fixed." I get emotional on this because these are families. These are young families. These are babies. These are people who have put their lives into these properties to build a future. And now their future is being taken away from them, sliding down a hill, literally. And it's heartbreaking. So I appreciate that we're going to work on an outreach program through the city and reach out to people who have these pipes on their property and let them know that they're there and what is required. That we're going to find some funding to help these homeowners to get the repairs made. And that we work on the mapping of them so that we can do all these things. And then reconfiguring, I still would like to know if anybody is interested in having a discussion on exactly what it would take to reconfigure the storm drain system. That was not something I don't recall hearing any of my colleagues comment on the reconfiguring of the storm drain system as has been done in other cities. But anyway, I just want to say thank you for your comments. Thank you for your support on a couple of these items. And I look forward to city staff coming back on this for a more in-depth discussion on some of the options that we have to mitigate these issues. So thank you.
Okay, so you have enough information, right, City Manager, to go forward?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, so with that's our last discussion item. So with that, we go to oral communications. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on any agency-related matters that are not on the agenda. If any members of the public wish to address the City Council, they can indicate so by using the raise hand feature now or pressing *9 now. So I'll check with our city clerk and see if she has any speakers.
Yes, we do have some speakers for tonight. We'll go ahead and start with Sarah Spinks. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, Madam Mayor, council people. Thank you so much. I'm really excited about the library presentation. That was awesome. Paula Vista Park getting done. That was great. I remember canvassing that neighborhood with Councilwoman Contreras. That's so needed. And I especially want to thank this council for their Constitution Week proclamation. I have been so inspired by it. So inspired to protect my freedom because, as you said in the proclamation, once your rights may be lost, they might not ever be regained. So I've basically been fighting for my First Amendment. And I'm also really appreciating this deep dive into municipal code about sewer drains or storm systems. So I would hope that you do as deep of a dive into your code regarding residential signage, because the meeting from March 8th, 2016, Councilwoman Rigby, you made the motion to amend the code, which actually infringes on residents' First Amendment. So I hope you guys just do a little bit deeper dive. And also, I love the idea with the storm drains to create information to communicate with residents. So maybe that's what you could do when you amend your code and make it constitutional. Again, thank you so much for your Constitution Week proclamation, and y'all have a great night. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Monique Combs. Go ahead, Monique.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I live in District 3, and my husband and I bought a house here in Vista just this year in March. And we really like a lot about living in Vista, but I, of course, made the mistake of not looking at the property in all times of day and night and morning and weekend and weekday. And we knew there was no sidewalk on our street. But we didn't realize there were no street lights. I've written the council, I believe, 3 times about this. I actually spoke to Deputy Mayor Rigby in person when she came to our neighborhood to speak, and she told me to talk to my neighbors about approaching the electric company ourselves and having them put one and then us pay for it, which I honestly find pretty outlandish. I've spoken to all of the people on my block. They all agree that we're not really willing to do that. My first question is, I'm disappointed that I've had such little feedback. I think it was Councilman Green wrote me back and then never followed up. Councilwoman Contreras was the only person who offered to meet with me, and we did meet in person, but the answer was basically, well, we're told that we don't have the money. And I hear the council always talking about safety, safety, safety. And we want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars more to, hire more deputies, even though when I researched it, I don't see the crime rate going up considerably. But I can't get street lights. And my street is a cut through from Vista Way, which just had a fatality accident, to Melrose. And people died out. So there's no sidewalks, there's no speed bump, there's no street lights, and I pay hundreds of dollars a month in property taxes. And it's disappointing that I would be told to buy the street light myself. Can the city please enter into that relationship with SDGE or take it on themselves? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Jim Riggenbach. Go ahead, Jim.
Hi, council members. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Coming through loud and clear? No.
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, thanks. I'm here to speak about the Community Safety Commission. I attended their meeting last week, and I found their discussions and questions and overall concern for the Sheriff's Department captain gave the exact same presentation that he gave to the City Council on August 25th, a presentation that did not much detail to it. And at that August 25th meeting, the members of the City Council did not ask any clarifying or probing questions. So I was very interested to see what the CSC's interaction would be. Well, I'm happy to report that the members of the CSC followed up the presentation with excellent questions. I also want to say that I was disappointed in Captain White's reaction to being asked for a presentation use of force. He was not receptive to the idea of discussing use of force at the next meeting, and he was defensive about the mere suggestion that the CSC would want a topic. Based on the captain's demeanor at this meeting and the lack of accountability provided by the City Council, I'm concerned that Vista is not focused enough on comprehensive, progressive public safety. And I urge the council to make a close examination of our overall public safety approach and the Sheriff's Department's role in that approach. I thank you all for the difficult work and important work that everybody does here for the city of Vista. Questioning and examining the role and execution of the sheriff's duties can be uncomfortable and it can be contentious. So can result in positive outcomes for the council, the sheriff's department, and the city of Vista. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kathleen. Kathleen, if you'd please state your name or your last name and spell it. Go ahead, Kathleen. Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
The Vista City Council recently proclaimed this Constitution Week, asking us to vigilantly protect our rights that once lost may never be regained. But the city of Vista is acting in ways directly opposed to our Constitution's First Amendment regarding freedom of speech. Vista has a regulation limiting the measurement of signs on private property. When I espouse my political beliefs with signs on my private property, I must not be limited as to number or size of signs, since there should be special respect for liberty in the home. The city of Vista is fining Sarah and Chad Spinks for number and size of political signs, claiming that their signs violated community aesthetics. Really? Drive along Santa Fe, north and south, except for the new Paseo, or along Vista Way, and you will see that the city of Vista does not really care about aesthetics. The city council recently changed zoning by majority vote to allow a gas station to be built across from a middle school and a city park. Gas stations are never aesthetically pleasing and are horribly polluting and harmful for young developing brains. Why change the zoning? A complaint using aesthetics as a rationale for limiting free speech is especially offensive since Sarah Speaks, who is being fined, is the same person who mounted aesthetically pleasing art and photography shows in our city hall for years, for free, as a volunteer. Mayor Ritter stated in a former city council that she hated election signs because they looked trashy. May I remind the city of Vista that Sarah Spinks, who is being fined, is the same person who, along with Alexis Panchevri, conduct monthly trash drives in all parts of Vista as part of their Only Losers Litter campaign. The many cans of trash collected each time indicate the city's neglect in maintaining public areas and enforcement of standards in commercial areas. So trashiness is not really that important for the city of Vista. Citing Sarah and Chad Spinks or anyone for violating an unconstitutional ordinance is unconstitutional, especially since Vista has proclaimed this to be Constitution Week, and we must vigilantly protect our rights that once lost may never be regained. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Cliff Kaiser. Go ahead, Cliff.
Again, Mayor, Council, and staff. Just a quick comment related to the last agenda item. The Palomar Airport, I'm a member of the Palomar Airport Advisory Committee, and we hear of complaints about noise, low flying, just general aviation comments related to people in the flight path of Palomar Airport. There is a requirement that people within the airport operations area have something in their title documents that say that they're in that area. And they're subject to noise and overflight and all that other good stuff. The city of Vista, including those in the flight path, are not part of that. So I would encourage you to explore some way to notify people that own property within that flight path about that. Just say, hey, I'm in the flight path, and there might be planes flying over or low or noisy or whatever as they land and take off from Palomar Airport. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Becky Rapp. Go ahead, Becky.
Good evening. My name is Becky Rapp,
As a parent and community member representing the parent community, we are deeply concerned with the negative impacts of marijuana dispensaries in our community and especially on our youth. I attended the Planning Commission meeting September 15th, at which the applicant for proposed March and Ash distribution, a potential marijuana manufacturing facility, spoke. Adding any marijuana outlets or manufacturing facilities raises great concern to our city, especially when we do not have any testing facilities in San Diego County. One very important question the commissioners posed to the applicant was who performs quality control of the product? Where is the product tested and how can we see the report? The applicant skirted the question. They do not know who is performing the testing, only that it's being tested. I would highly encourage you to consider opening testing facilities before permitting any more marijuana outlets or manufacturing facilities. It's crucial marijuana products from manufacturers are tested. Vaping cartridges, a product that's popular among teens, has proven very dangerous. And according to the CDC, marijuana vaping cartridges tested found the vapors they produce are filled with high levels of pesticides and other harmful substances. One of the nation's leading marijuana testing firms said, I'd be willing to bet that some of these are over what they would consider a fatal dose. I ask you to send a message to the community that you are more interested in the public's health and safety. Wait and see what ramifications take place from already permitted distribution centers and pot shops. Permit a testing center before moving forward with anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have Alexis Pinchev. Sorry, I think I said your name wrong. Go ahead, Alexis.
No problem. Can you guys hear me okay?
If you speak just a little bit louder, please.
Okay, no problem. Hi, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Alexis Pinchev. I am a homeowner here in District 2. First, I'd like to thank Councilmember Rigby for bringing the storm drain issue. I agree this is a really important issue for homeowners and for the safety of everyone in Vista, and I definitely look forward to hearing more about possible solutions regarding that. It's a question that I even have to ask myself. I have no idea now, so that's awesome for a first-time homeowner. I appreciate that, Deputy Mayor Rigby. Thank you. I did want to pop on tonight and just say thank you so much for designating this week as Constitution Week here in Vista. Like the Mayor Rigby, I also carry my pocket Constitution with me at all times. I feel like really important for us to all understand the importance of that document and especially, the First Amendment. So thank you so much for signing on to that, you guys. I really appreciate it. And Constitution Week, go Vista. This is really exciting. And thanks for letting me say. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. All right, next we have Nancy O'Shell. Go ahead, Nancy.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay. Hi, my name is Nancy Oshley, and I'm a 31-year resident of Oceanside, of Vista. I'm also a homeowner in D2, and I am addressing the council about celebrating the Constitution Week, and I want to say thank you for that. I think that's really great that we are encouraging our citizens of Vista to stand up for their rights. And as Sarah mentioned, I think it would be a really good idea for the council to maybe revisit their code on signage, especially considering political signage on private property as infringing on First Amendment rights. And this is especially in these dire times important because of the fact that we can't go out and talk to voters neighbor to neighbor like we normally would. And so, putting up a sign is really one of the only ways we can get the word out about who we're supporting. And this is an election like no other. And I just really think this is an important issue. And we shouldn't be infringing on our neighbors' First Amendment rights. So please look into that. And thank you and good night.
Thank you. Next, we have Jessica Goldstein. Go ahead, Jessica.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, my name is Jessica Goldstein. I am a longtime resident of Vista and live in District 4. And I want to thank the City Council for signing on to Constitutional Week. I would like to ask the city to understand that violating citizens' First Amendment rights by limiting political signs on private property screams of hypocrisy and is unconstitutional. I'm asking the council to revisit their code on signage on private property, and I am asking the city attorney to consider dropping the charges against Sarah and Chad Spinks. They have committed no crime, and violating their constitutional rights to free speech is absolutely abhorrent. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. All right. I know we have a couple folks from a resident group who want to speak. I'm going to put Paula on, but then if we can have the other group raise their hand so I can identify them. So Paula, do you want to go ahead and speak?
Hi there. Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Paula Araceli Lescas, the program coordinator for Migrant Health at Vista Community Clinic. And again, thank you for the time to take to listen to us. RLA, Resident Leadership Academy, is the program that Kathy mentioned. This curriculum is really, really strenuous, and many residents undergo this curriculum to understand the importance of collaboration among neighbors and local governments. So today, it is my pleasure to introduce the new RLA cohort of 2020. They graduated on September 19, 2020, this past Saturday. So they're just recent graduates. I had the honor to witness their growth and their ongoing commitment beyond the RLA curriculum. They are committed to really see the vision of a healthy and thriving Vista. Some of the graduates are here today, and each of them will take some time to introduce themselves. They're here not only to just introduce themselves, but also become a resource for the city and the community, and to truly make the relationship between city, local government, and residents and community folks come to fruition. And they really do this type of work via the Healthy Vista Coalition. And so most of the graduates here today are members of this coalition. Many of them are youth, so we're really, really proud of this this year that they have joined us, and they graduated as well. And please take some time to listen to their introductions. You will see us and see them probably more in the future. Just a little small note, some of them are talking Spanish, but I will happily provide a follow-up email of a translated version of their speeches. We hope to see you all very soon, either in the coalition or in future city council meetings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to start with Leticia Lopez, and I think she's got a couple people on the line with her. Let's see. Whoops. Hold on. All right. Leticia, are you there?
Yes.
All right. You can go ahead and speak.
Hola, buenas tardes. Soy Leticia López Martínez. Soy residente de aquí de Raintree. Soy graduada de la Academia de Liderazgo y es un placer introducirme a ustedes. Espero seguir trabajando con ustedes del concilio para asegurar un vista seguro para todos, y muchas gracias por su tiempo.
Thank you. And then I think on the same call we have Stephanie Lopez.
Yes. Hello, my name is Stephanie Martinez Lopez, and I'm a student at Rancho Minerva and a graduate from the Resident Leadership Academy. I was excited to hear the Safe Routes to School process happening for Rancho Minerva, and I hope that we can bring more healthier routes and safer neighborhoods in Vista. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And then also on the line is Deanna.
Yes, good evening to all council members. My name is Diana Martinez Lopez, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to all of us Vista residents. I am currently a student at Guajome Park Academy and a graduate from this Resident Leadership Academy, from which I've learned the importance of building a healthy community for all its inhabitants. We hope to keep working with you to ensure a wholesome Vista for everyone, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. I think we have Maria Lopez. Maria, did you want to say something? Maria, did you want to speak?
¿Sí me escucha?
There you go. Yes.
Okay. Hola, buenas tardes. Soy María López, una residente de aquí en Vista y graduada de la Academia de Liderazgo. Es un placer conocerlos y me da gusto ver que la ciudad sigue apoyando a sus vecindarios. Espero seguir viéndoles y trabajar juntos para una Vista saludable. Buenas noches.
Gracias. And then I apologize if I pronounce this wrong. Isomara Diaz. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, good evening. My name is Xiomara Diaz. I am a resident of Vista D1. I am a graduate from the Leadership Academy. It is my pleasure to see that the city of Vista continues to support Vista neighborhoods. Hoping to continue to see y'all and be able to work together for a better and safer Vista. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then let's see, Jovita Serafin. Hold on. Jovita, are you there? Sorry, things are jumping around. Go ahead, Jovita.
Okay. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Jovita Serafín, residente de aquí de Townside en Vista y soy graduada de la Academia de Liderazgo. Muchas gracias por su tiempo y apoyo que nos han brindado. Yo soy capitán y líder del Grupo Guerreras en Acción por un Vista Limpio. Y limpiamos las calles de Vista y nos gustaría seguir viendo un Vista limpia y saludable. Esperamos seguir trabajando juntos. Gracias.
Thank you. All right. I have Angelina Cruz on the list, but I don't see her name or number popping up here. So if you are there, you can go ahead and raise your hand. So we'll go down to Jocelyn Pacheco. Let me find you. Oh, Jocelyn, unfortunately, you're using an older form of Zoom, so I can't get the microphone to work. If you want to call in with the number on the cover sheet, then we'll take you as a caller. So I apologize for that. So the next is Socorro Ramirez. Let's see if we've got you on the call. I don't see Socorro. Again, raise your hand if I've missed you. Elizabeth Perez. Let's see. I don't see Elizabeth. Okay, so I've got someone on the line. Last four numbers of the phone is 5277. If you'd please state your name and the spelling. Okay, you could go ahead and unmute your phone now.
¿Me escuchan?
There you go. Yes.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Socorro Ramírez. Vivo en Vista por muchos años y graduada recientemente de la Academia de Liderazgo. Estoy emocionada de para seguir trabajando para el proyecto y mejoramiento a nuestra comunidad que tenemos en mente. Contamos con el apoyo de todos ustedes y apreciamos su apoyo. Muchas gracias por su tiempo y buenas noches.
Gracias. And that looks like we've got everyone. So that concludes the public speakers for tonight.
Okay, thank you. A lot of them tonight. Takes us to our remarks, and I will read my little remarks, and then we'll go down the council line of all the rest of the council. So this past Friday, the sculpture titled Aspire, created by local artist Melissa Ralston and Robert Roshin, was installed in the recently completed roundabout at South Santa Fe Avenue and Guajome Street in the Paseo Santa Fe corridor. If you haven't had a chance to drive by and take a look, please do. And I've seen lots, like next door, I've seen lots of good responses and comments about it. People really like it. So if you haven't seen it, drive down there and look at it. Active registered voters can register to track their mail ballot status. Voters can find out when the ballot is mailed to them, when the registrar voter receives it, and when it's counted. Learn more at sdvote.com. And lastly, we're excited to announce that the Moonlight Amphitheater is welcoming guests back to a series of Halloween-themed big screen films. The Fright Fest weekend runs October 8th through October 10th. Health and safety precautions will be in place, as well as a limited capacity to protect guests and staff. The three features movies are Poltergeist, Hocus Pocus, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Tickets are available starting this Thursday at themoonlightstage.com or at the box office at the Civic Center. So those are my announcements for tonight. So we'll start with, how about Deputy Mayor Rigby?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to my colleagues for tonight's discussion. I really appreciate your input, your support. We always have great discussions, and I appreciate it very much, as well as to staff. Staff always does a great job for us, and it does not go unnoticed. It's very much appreciated. I just wanted to also say congratulations to everybody who graduated from the Leadership Academy. That's exciting, and I'm very happy and very proud of you, so congratulations. I did want to report out from the Sandag Litter Abatement Subcommittee. We've had 2 meetings so far. They've actually been pretty good meetings, and we've talked about ways that we can identify sources. There are particular sources that are causing some of the problem with the litter that we're seeing along the on-ramps and off-ramps, as well as the freeway. Identifying those, some programs that we're going to try to put into place to mitigate those, as well as an education campaign. So looking forward, we're working very closely with our regional partners, with Caltrans, with the other jurisdictions. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this program is going to unfold and how it's going to help mitigate some of this litter problem that we're having countywide. Also, I wanted to just say, I don't know if anybody else here is a Padres fan, but I'm going to say congratulations to my Padres for making it into the playoffs for the first time in 14 years. And I have my Padre earrings on. I'm sporting tonight. So go Padres. I also want to say thank you to everybody who contacts us, whether it's email, phone calls, tonight's comments from everybody. I appreciate hearing from you always. And I appreciate your being part of the conversation. It's very, very much appreciated. So with that, Madam Mayor, I just want to say thank you, and wish everybody a good night.
Now I want to thank you, Deputy Mayor, for the litter committee, attending the litter committee. Oh my gosh, the litter is so horrible at the exits. It makes me want to get out of my car and start picking up litter. But I don't know what makes people throw stuff out the window or out the back of their truck. When they throw it in the back of their truck, do they not know it blows out? It just upsets me to see that litter. So thank you for serving on that committee. Anything that you can come up with would be wonderful.
I'll keep you posted and let everybody know what programs we're working on and how we're going to roll them out. So yeah, okay.
Thank you. Councilmember Franklin.
Couldn't agree more about the litter. That's a frustrating and vexing problem, and one that I think we've all spent time trying to work on. I just wanted to take a moment to agree substantially with those who spoke about the First Amendment tonight. I don't know how many signs is the right number. I don't imagine the signs particularly in question are ones I would put in my own yard. However, I support your right to put them in yours. That's what the First Amendment is all about. To quote Ruth Bader Ginsburg and do it poorly because I don't remember exactly her words, but she said about her friendship with Antonin Scalia that she was able to be friends with him because he attacked ideas and not people. We've forgotten largely in our society that even good people can have bad ideas without being bad people. It doesn't mean we can't be neighborly and friendly and love one another, even though we have some differing ideas. That said, though, the First Amendment is fundamentally about this. If we cannot talk through our differences, there's only one course of action left if words do not solve our problems. And we all know what that course of action is, and it's a course of action that we should never resort to. So we must at all costs protect the right to free speech. And I don't know how many signs is the right number. I do. I love to study and talk about the Constitution. I look forward to what our city attorney is going to write in the way of a briefing about what other cities have done that protects First Amendment rights. I don't, certainly there's probably some argument to be made about aesthetics. Anyway, I look forward to having that conversation. I certainly would request that we get a briefing on it and have that conversation. I want to stand up for Sarah and Chad's First Amendment rights and everybody's First Amendment rights. So that's definitely an important conversation. Thanks for bringing it forward tonight.
Councilmember Green.
All right. So first of all, congratulations to the Vista Community Clinic Resident Leadership Academy. And thank you guys all for taking the time to call in and tell us a little bit about yourselves. Really appreciate that. Also, Poltergeist, October 8th is on my calendar. So that was the scariest movie ever as a little kid. So I'm hoping that I can scare my son when we go watch that at the Moonlight. Let's see. Also, you talked about the San Diego Padres. Congratulations. But there's another team in Las Vegas, the Raiders. Not as much love, I know. Undefeated, super exciting. Let's see what else. Taco Tuesday. Can't talk about that enough. Great places in Vista to get tacos. They're still open for another couple hours in Vista. So go out to our restaurants and get tacos. Get rid of litter with Ritter. Hey, Ritter, get rid of litter. I wrote it down. Got to do it. And then last but not least, everybody make sure you celebrate that hero we talked about earlier. Mr. Kenneth Alfred Day is tomorrow in the city of Vista. And let's not forget what that man did. Selflessly put his life on the line for other residents in Vista without any fear of what would happen to him. And he basically saved those two women's lives and put his life on the line for citizens. So tomorrow, Mr. Alfred, it's your day. Thank you for saving Vistans' lives. And we celebrate you as a hero in our city. Thank you so much, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Contreras.
Thank you to all my colleagues for the wonderful discussion we've had today, and to staff for always making sure that we're prepared to be able to have these discussions. I want to thank everybody that called in to voice their opinions, concerns, and comments, and pose questions to the council that are very, very important for us to hear, and even more important for us to answer. So I look forward to having continued conversations with everybody in the community. And I do want to say I'm very thankful that Sarah and Chad Spinks are fighting for our First Amendment right and ensuring that we are complying as a city with that. I myself just don't think that 4 square feet or even 16 square feet is enough square footage to be able to display all the candidates from every single level of government that you may be supporting in this cycle. Also, really excited to just say congratulations to all the líderes that have just graduated. It's incredible to have been working with you. And I look forward to continuing to work together for us to better Vista, because that is always our united goal here in Vista. Other than that, I just want to say always that on Wednesday at 9 a.m. at Luz Duran Park, we meet up for our weekly trash pickup. So this Wednesday is going to be like every other Wednesday that we do that. So if you want to come on down, you can meet us there at 9 a.m. Depending on how quickly our morning is going, we are usually out and walking by 9:15. So I look forward to seeing everybody on Wednesday and later on, later on in the week, I guess. Other than that, I hope everybody has a very great night. I don't know if I have enough room for tacos today, but I might try. So,
City Manager Patrick Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. The city's housing element is currently being updated. And so we're looking for input from city residents to give us their feedback on it and what they would like to see in it for the next 8 years. So residents can get involved, and you can go to thecityofvista.com and get more involved on that. The county wanted us to let everybody know that they have free testing sites throughout the county. And so you can go to coronavirus-sd.com and /testing and find out more. But there's one at Cal State San Marcos, and there's one in Escondido, which are probably the closest facilities to Vista. And last, I am very pleased to say that today the state and the county announced that we are staying in the red tier. I never thought I'd be pleased to say we're staying in the red tier, but didn't go to the purple tier. And so all the businesses that reopened a few weeks back can stay reopened. And it is just great news for the businesses that we didn't regress. So just wanted to give everybody a heads up. Thank you.
Thank you. How about our city attorney, Joe Piper?
I would just like to wish everyone a happy autumnal equinox. Welcome to fall. And go Rocky Horror.
How about our city clerk, Kathy Valdez? Anything?
Nothing tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, with that, if I don't see anything else, I say we are adjourned. Good night, everybody.